in Sierra Leone, and APC was the only official political party in existence. Any attempt to form another political party was deemed to be a treasonable offense. So that is why you see other Sierra Leoneans, of course, you are journalists, you must have been leading, who were SLPP, joined the APC. But others, like the late Manafaka, refused, to join the APC. He died SLPP through and through. In 1991, of course, under the presidency of Joseph Saidu Momo, and Sierra Leone returned to multi-party democracy, because the 1978 constitution was opposed to multi-party democracy. So when the 1991 constitution was enacted and promulgated into law and signed by the then president and Joseph Saidu Momo of blessed memory, and Sierra Leone officially became a multi-party democracy. But then there were challenges. The country was going through war, and in 1992 we had the military coup overthrowing the legitimate APC government, giving reasons for which the government was overthrown by the young NPRC headed by Captain Valentine Esekrabo Melvin Strasser and later Julius Madabio, who conducted an elections in 1996. In his 3-month stint in governance, and the SLPP won that election, and the official opposition there was the UNPP, led by the late Dr. John Carifas-Mat. So we'll go on and on. We go to 1996, we had that election. 1998, the government was overthrown. It was relocated in Guinea due to interventions, particularly with support from Nigeria, then General Sani Abacha, and later Abdul Salam Abubakar. The government was restored because Abacha died also in 1998, and he was succeeded by Abdul Salam Abubakar. That's part of the Nigerian constitutional history. So, of course, the war was officially declared over, and then the SLPP won that election again. And we go to 2002, that election was won by the SLPP, and Tijan Kaba had 2/3 majority in parliament because it were 83 and SLPP members that were in that particular parliament. And the official opposition had a lesser number. And we go to, let's not bother on that, okay, because that's very recent. Parliament is an embodiment of elected officials charged with the responsibility of holding the executive to account. Section 75 of the Constitution provides that for you to be eligible to become a member of Parliament, you have 2 windows. It's either from a political party or as a popular independent candidate. Of course, in the 5th Parliament of the Second Republic, we had independent candidates. Two from Kailan, yes, Quintin Honorable Lolo, and one from Pujon, Honorable Shaka Musa Sama. But again, under that controversy that we had in 1967, due to political struggles, 2 people, the LAM Brew and the Kaisamba, they stood as independent, they won. So then the challenge was, should they cross carpets? And after a government had been formed or before. So that was a constitutional debacle. It's another story for another day. Next. Establishment of the Constitution. The Constitution is very clear. In 1863, we had Legislative Council. In 1951, it was the same as Legislative Council. But in 1954, even though we had the office of the Chief Minister created, the Legislative Council was renamed to the House of Representatives. The Legislative Council was renamed to the House of Representatives. But under the 1991 Constitution, it is no longer known as the House of Representatives. Section 73, subsection 1 says, there shall be a legislature of the Republic of Sierra Leone, which shall be known as Parliament. Which shall be known as Parliament for purposes of emphasis, and shall consist of 1, the President, 2, the Speaker, and 3, the members of Parliament. So it is very clear that we say Parliament of Sierra Leone, because that's the name the Constitution ascribed. We have had INEC, we have had NEC, National Electoral Commission, but when Masiande Bangura was the head of PPRC, he looked at the Constitution. The Constitution says there shall be an Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone. So why should you go against the Constitution? That name will help Punado United name that, okay? So we go to legislations. For purposes of legislation, Section 73, subsection 2 and 3 are saying that the legislative authority of the Republic of Sierra Leone is vested in Parliament. That is Section 73, subsection 2. And Section 73, subsection 3 is saying Parliament may make laws for the peace, security, and good governance of the Republic of Sierra Leone. Section 105 is saying Parliament is the supreme legislative body, or Parliament has the supreme legislative authority for the Republic of Sierra Leone. And of course, 106 is telling about the mode of law, that bills should be discussed at cabinet level, then forwarded to the office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and then in 2 issues of the Gazette, and they should be published for the attention or information of the general public, and then you have, of course, pre-legislative hearing here, the expert talking to the MPs as to the reason why a bill should be enacted into law, and thereafter we have the first reading, of course, the second reading, the third reading, the committee stage, and then we have the third reading, and finally the presidential assent. So that is the mode of making law. But we have to zero into Section 106, subsection 7. It is saying the president, should the president return a bill to Parliament with reasons why it should not be passed into law, and then it should be under the period of 14 days. And should Parliament strongly believes that that law being enacted and should pass, even though we have not had that in our history before, even in the colonial times to now, that Parliament had refused the presidency, and we are in, Section 106, subsection 8 may come into force, that 2/3 of members of Parliament may vote in favor of that law, and then the Speaker shall have cause, to sign that law and publish it into the Gazette. We have not reached that situation yet, but the law provides for that. It gives, primacy to the independence of Parliament. Okay? And, of course, I've spoken about publication in the Gazette. I've spoken about first reading, second reading, third reading, and the presidential assent. And go back. And this is about loans, grants, gifts, and agreements, under Section 118, subsection 7, and Parliament should be notified, and eventually, get parliamentary assent or ratification. Okay? This is an important aspect for you understanding Parliament and for reporting purposes. Section 170, subsection 7, paragraph A, B, and C. It is saying, if a constitutional instrument comes to Parliament, it should be tabled in Parliament. That is one. Once it is tabled, then it should be debated if possible, if notice is given by the opposition, for example, or the government if they are in disagreement. And within 21 days, it will become law. If and only if it is not being overturned by 2/3 majority vote against that. Of course, let's take the issue of the census. Procedurally, constitutionally, it passed through the House. The opposition was in disagreement. They had their disagreements. But unfortunately, they do not have the votes to overturn that as provided for in the Constitution. So we need to understand that. Other leaders before would say, the opposition will have their say, and the government will have its way. And it has to be done within the remit of the law. So under this constitutional instrument, say, for example, another example, the constitutional instrument establishing the Commission of Inquiries. The opposition was averse to it, but then the government brought it under constitutional or statutory instrument pursuant to section 170, subsection 7A, B, and C. Of course, you were here. All of us, we almost left Parliament close to 12 midnight. But it passed because of the votes. So we have to understand the voting pattern in Parliament as well. Then we'll be able to accurately report to the people, who are the ultimate arbiter when it comes to policing a Parliament. Because the people are the ultimate judge to determine as to who goes to Parliament. Because they have to vote you in. Next. Representation. Section 97, subsection A and B, speaks volume about one, the responsibilities of members of Parliament. Members of Parliament do have responsibilities to make laws. They have responsibility to represent and to oversee the government by way of oversight for purposes of accountability. But then it is also speaking to the image of Parliament, that members of Parliament are obliged to maintain the dignity of Parliament, both in and outside Parliament, by conducting themselves in a manner that is befitting and not necessarily alienating themselves from the people. Because they are the people's representative. So this is very important when it comes to the responsibilities for members of Parliament and the image of the Parliament of Sierra Leone. Of course, if you go to the Local Council Act, 2004 as amended as well, they will tell you that the councils are responsible for development. They have responsibility to coordinate development programs and complement government efforts. And they are the principal agents in their localities. But the members of Parliament are also, in their PS, the representatives of the people. Who, under Section 75, for you to become a member of Parliament, you should be able to read and write, and sufficient enough to deliberate. And in the House, it didn't say you must come with master for constituency-based system. It does provide for that. Equally so, the Constitution was amended in 2002, and it also allows
This Sheku going forward, you can get her to give us their numbers. I'll get the ICT department. That will be on us. It's not coming from that, but we provide so that we are able to identify them. So that when we improve on our security, when they come, they can flash their cards, just like any one of us that they are coming to Parliament, and then they will access our cards. So that when other journalists that are not part of our gallery, when they come through you.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. All right. So thank you very much. We work on the mutual relationship. Please do your work, and let's have mutual respect for each other. Thank you very much. Okay.
Declare this as a standing ovation. I would encourage the high table to remain standing. That will be the official photograph for this purpose.
Okay. All right.
So please. So the audience, you may sit.
What I like.
I don't know which camera to watch. That's what I see. Watch.
Thank you very much, Mr. Black.
So I may please ask that I have other issues to attend to. Thank you.
So, I think we have end this session now. You take over.
Please let's convert your members please for the photo. Let's go. Okay, let's go out please.